Thanks for joining us for Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari Enaharo. The hashtag campaign to free 300 schoolgirls kidnapped in Nigeria gained enormous international momentum. First Lady Michelle Obama, actress Angelina Jolie, and British Prime Minister David Cameron, to name a few, have embraced the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. Who is this Boko Haram? And is this Bring Back Our Girls campaign really about saving black females in Africa and around the world? Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, Reverend John Coates, and Donella Martin-Braddix. Who is Boko Haram? Let's start right there.
Well, you know, from my understanding and research, they are a terrorist group that was started, came about
funded by who? CIA?
FBI, look, Shell Oil Company.
Look like the guy looked like somebody from Central Casting.
Well, he's from Central Casting, and in fact, he was a member of the Chippendales just last year.
Okay.
And you know something, that would be kind of what it is, but the tragedy is that they kidnapped 300 black children, baby girls, and it must be addressed.
Well, you know
if that's true.
If that's true, that's number one, if it's true. Number two, they've been collecting girls for a few years now. So why are we just now hearing about this particular group of young ladies?
Well, because Michelle Obama, Angelina Jolie,
but there was
and all
girls
them.
Before that. Those lives don't count. The girls before this group of 300 doesn't count. Then you have to also take into account there was 36 young men, boys, who were also kidnapped and killed.
There's no value in their lives. There's no value in their lives.
Hold on, we'll get to that in a minute. But what I want to ask you, look at all that smile. Look at that smile on her. All red and stuff. Anyway,
she red.
Is that carnage? Anyway, what is this whole Bring Back Our Girls campaign? Is it a valid campaign or is it PR? What is it?
You know, it sounds like PR to me, unfortunately, because basically, this is, as Earth said, this is not the first time that this group has kidnapped children and held them for ransom. Not only that, since the girls have been, missing, over 470 people have been murdered in the streets. And these murders, the Boko Haram group has killed over 4,000 of their own citizens.
So we've been told.
In the past 5 years.
So John,
all of a sudden now, why is it Bring Back Our Girls?
So Reverend Coates, are we looking at civil war in Nigeria?
Well, you may be looking at an overt takeover in Nigeria. Boko Haram is supposed to be an Al-Qaeda affiliate, okay? Well, it's
Boko Haram.
I'm trying. Look, it's like the storylines being written as we go along. So I'm trying to get the name right.
So who's really doing the killing then?
Well, the so-called terrorist organization, and what we know about Al-Qaeda is that they might not be what you think they are.
Right.
So these girls obviously aren't a priority item for the Nigerian government.
Absolutely.
It took them forever to even say anything about it.
But who controls the Nigerian government? The oil industry?
Well, of course the oil.
Certainly, you know how the oil is exported out of the country. People still living in poverty. Nigeria's a mess.
Well, as the Reverend Jesse Jackson most recently said in Columbus, Ohio, that while we're looking at the girls, we ought to be paying attention to the oil.
Right.
Is that, as it's been the case in Africa for centuries, is that the white supremacist concern was what we were standing on.
Right.
And that's the gold, the cobalt,
so why
the uranium,
China? Why is China up in there? China's up in there.
Well, yeah.
Has China got the same goals?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
No, not communist China.
Absolutely.
Not the party of Mao. No way.
Speaking of the oil industry, I think one of the things the Nigerian government needs to be held accountable for is that they have negotiated with criminals and terrorists in the past, and an organization called MEN, which controls a lot of the oil exports.
You don't think every government on the planet hadn't done that?
They
Come
have
on.
30,000 ex-fighters who are receiving at least $400 a month stipends each month, and this is in a country where the average Nigerian citizen earns $2
So where you going
a day.
with it? What's your point?
The
I'm
point
lost.
is that the Nigerian government is corrupt, the oil industry is corrupt,
and it has a history.
This needs to be addressed.
And it has a history of corruption from a Bandiga, from a Bacha to so-called good luck. Johnny Good Luck, whoever his name is, or Good Luck Johnny.
No, Johnny Football.
Johnny.
Oh, wrong person. Okay, go ahead.
He's not having so much good luck these days, but
It's funny to me that Nigeria can have a military and a government, but they can't go in and crush Boko Haram. I'm really confused about, the power that they don't have.
So you're saying Boko Haram, John, do you believe Boko Haram is Boko Haram? Do you think it's a front?
I do not. I believe
front
it's
for intelligence operation?
I believe it's a front for an intelligence operation that's backed by the oil industry.
Oh, wow. You believe that, Irv?
Yes, I do. I believe that it is made up and it's about the oil.
Wow, stay right there. 59 boys killed, and nobody's talking about it. Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari Enaharo. According to several media reports, Boko Haram gunmen stormed a boarding school in Nigeria and killed 59 boys aged 9 to 11 years of age. These grisly murders happened 2 months before the kidnapping of 300 girls, yet the Bring Back Our Girls campaign has failed, in some cases, to even mention it. I wonder why. Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Irv Jallow, Reverend John Coates, and Donella Martin-Braddix. All right, 59 were killed, Reverend, not kidnapped, not held for ransom, but killed.
Well, the boys are not a part of the propaganda campaign.
What do you mean?
The boys are not.
They don't matter?
The death of boys, well, to the international audience, especially an American audience, that there's less sensitivity about boys than there.
Wait a minute. Nine-year-old boys were killed. And they don't matter, Donella Martin-Braddix?
Well, I have to agree with Pastor Coates.
I'm sorry.
The thing about
I had to say Braddix.
That's okay. You're forgiven. You're forgiven. I'm not a pastor, but I can forgive you. It is true. If you're going to start a propaganda campaign that's going to, enrage people,
started with girls?
It has to be the girls.
So what about the parents of those the children? Don't matter?
What about the parents?
59 boys were killed,
What
John?
about the parents? We've heard about parents from a missing airplane. We've heard from the parents. We haven't really heard a lot of. All we heard from the parents. I think I see my daughter. I think I see someone that looks like my daughter.
They're not even really doing that. They're not even speaking out.
So young black boys don't matter.
Yes, young black boys.
Young black boys don't matter.
All children matter, no matter what.
This is a female group that's saying young black boys don't matter.
No,
that's what I'm hearing.
The goal of this campaign is to put a
Wait a minute, hold on for a minute. She challenged me.
Yeah,
yes, it is what I heard. What
I
do you mean
said
that's not what I heard?
all of the children count.
How dare you say that's not what I heard?
Not just the girls, but the boys count as well. If we don't have the boy and the girl, then we cannot procreate.
Among your feminist groups, black males do not count. We just did a show on that.
I love black males.
Well,
I love them. I love them.
Y'all have said black males don't matter.
I didn't say that.
They called them your feminist groups.
We need to attack the men's groups because, let's face it, a black boy's life hasn't mattered in Africa since the beginning. How many black boys have died, throughout Africa? Africa is a mess. It's a disaster.
So then why should I support the kidnapping of 300 women if you're not going to say nothing about 59 boys who were mutilated and died?
I agree.
Well, why won't the Nigerian government say anything about the Boko Haram?
We're talking about the Nigerian government.
Okay, but I'm talking about it. Why won't they?
Bam!
Why won't they talk about the
she got away with that one.
Boko Haram staff
and
member?
the only reason she got away with it because she got that thing in her head.
Backhand him again. Backhand him again.
Who was found in a state senator's house in Nigeria? Why aren't we talking about the fact that the Nigerian government is in bed with the so-called Boko Haram terrorists anyway?
The support for this doesn't come out of Nigeria. It comes from over here. Wait a minute. This is where the large white media has jumped on it. But yet the feminist groups are all out, oh, yes, we got to save the girls. But somehow they conveniently forget that 59 boys were murdered, and they say nothing.
I think it's intentional. I also believe that as a part of this campaign is to put a black face on Al-Qaeda.
What do you mean? Break that down.
Al-Qaeda we associate with having an Arab face on it, a so-called Middle Eastern place, this mythical place called the Middle East. The Arab face on it. Now they can successfully pull this character from central casting and put a black face, an African face on terrorism.
Is this a setup so that the U.S. military? Is this a setup so that the U.S. military can go in Nigeria? Set it up.
There are boots on the ground.
They got drones over there.
There are boots on the, and there's boots on the ground right now.
For what reason? To take got the oil?
Yeah, I think it
Absolutely.
is.
They already got the oil.
Absolutely.
No,
If Nigeria's government is unstable right now, the U.S. must look after its oil interests, and its oil interests mean by corporations that are based in the United States has an oil interest there, so we send our military over to
So
protect
all
them.
this is set up then to go in and protect those oil interests. So you send the U.S. military, you create a scenario by which that happens, a propaganda war, and then the military comes
very
in.
well
Is that,
may be.
is that the
Yes.
setup? Is that what you're saying?
And this has happened
Is that why
time
nobody
and time
cares about the
again.
boys?
Yes.
Well, nobody cares about the boys
they don't really care about the girls either.
our society has been conditioned not to care about black boys.
They don't care about the girls either. Who holds up a sign talking about bring back our girls? That's blanketed to me. First of all,
PR
when I saw
campaign
that-
ready to
because
roll.
when I first saw that, my first thought was
Hashtag.
human trafficking.
What do you mean?
Human trafficking. And so, like you said, putting the black face on terrorism is also putting the black face on human trafficking. Let's keep it. Let's look at this thing as it is. If you say that you don't care about the boys, they couldn't possibly care about the girls either. Because if that was the case, why would they send them for testing out of their normal
Does the
school?
U.S. media care about
No.
young black girls?
Well, you know,
Donella?
I think that Americans in general need to be skeptical of where America chooses to send its forces in the world.
You didn't have, wait,
Is it-
wait.
'cause I'm
You're
looking.
going around Hayes
I don't
Barnes.
think-
That's not the
I don't think
question.
our media is concerned about it.
I do think it's obviously interest in the oil industry because
So
that's
they don't
the
care.
only-
The U.S. media doesn't care about
Is it-
little black girls.
Have we ever cared about all of the murders and everything that's going on in Africa up until this point? Have we ever cared about the genocides that have gone on throughout Africa? Africans have been suffering for generations.
Is that
have
true,
we
Reverend?
ever cared before?
Is that true?
I believe that our media that they do not care about black girls, brown girls, or yellow
But
girls.
Angelique
because
Jolie cares.
there is a
Michelle Obama
there is a
cares.
disproportionate amount of brown, black, yellow girls in this country that's being humanly trafficked.
Yes.
But yet there's a white face that's being put on human trafficking when they
Yes.
want to focus
So
on
are
it.
you saying I should not support the campaign because of it, or I should support it?
Well,
What are you
that's the
saying?
that's the catch-22. That's the catch-22.
What are you saying?
That's the catch-22 because you know how would you look not to support Bring Back Our Girls?
Okay, but first of all, wait a minute. What is the campaign?
Yeah.
Right now, the campaign is I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm going to do a
Hold
sign,
up a sign.
hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Boop, done. My activism is finished.
mean,
There
because-
is no campaign.
Right.
Well, that's not true.
All it is
It's a
win
propaganda
so
campaign.
that
Wait,
the
we
United
have
States
local
can justify
activists who
going
were
over there.
involved in it. Earth, you were involved in it. Other
No,
people.
I wasn't. You did not see.
What?
You did not
You don't
see
want
me
no
come.
piece of it?
You did not see me at no press conference
Why
talking
not?
about bring back our girls.
Do you disagree with it?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because you holding up a sign. What is that going to do? Who you talking to?
You don't want
Where's
these
this
black girls
going?
saved?
I would love the black girls be saved, but holding up a sign ain't gonna go get your daughter.
Well, they doing more than that.
You
They're
think
I don't know.
Boko Haram
Right.
gives a 2 cents of a
Right.
rat's behind
About a
care
sign.
about a sign?
I'll tell
Yeah,
you what they're
get outta
doing.
here.
They're making it palatable, you know, so
Palatable.
Americans...
Wait a minute.
They're making
What's that?
it
Palatable.
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 They're making it easier to
I don't
digest.
even know what that means. Wait.
It'll be easier to digest
Tastes better.
when America goes into Nigeria and starts blowing things up. Americans
Dropping
will feel
drones.
like it's justified and we'll be
Right.
calm and we'll stay
Right.
asleep and feel like we're doing the
Reverend,
right
is this
thing.
this is a
Exactly.
setup?
It's a setup.
Exactly.
I
That was
think
great.
you just hit the
That was
nail,
great.
the head of the
Fine.
nail.
This is a
Because
setup?
yes,
Yeah.
To do what?
to destroy
to take Africa?
To destroy
Yeah.
Africa.
And
then
take it.
have us not say nothing about
Wow.
it.
Yep.
Right.
Because it's the little girls.
Muammar Gaddafi, who formed the United States
Yep.
of Africa and irrigated the desert, was
Yep.
killed in front of us,
Killed.
and nobody
Nobody
said
said
nothing
a
about
thing.
it.
And this is part 2 of it?
Part two.
Wow, stay right there. White corporations behind the Bring Back Our Girls campaign? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari Enaharo. The Western media has labeled Africa the dark continent, a race code word for being primitive and uncivilized. Yet in 2014, to compete against communist China, some say white multinational corporations are behind the Bring Back Our Girls campaign to spark civil war in Nigeria and expand the military presence in Africa. Oh my, now really? Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, Reverend John Coates, and Donella Martin-Braddix. Now, John, you have accused this effort of being CIA major corporations, intelligence operations, and all that kind of, how dastardly is that statement that you've just made? You like that word, don't you, dastardly?
You know what? You know,
I almost said something else.
You almost did. I was gonna let you say it too. You know, I don't know. It's speculation. That's what's behind it, because we've seen it happen before in history.
Why would they do such a thing? Why?
Because of the mineral riches in
They
Africa.
already got the mineral riches.
But they don't have it all.
But they don't have a stable
in
government.
Fact, what
That's
we
what you're
see
saying.
happening in this country and all over the world now, where the imperialists would always pull strings and play puppet master, now they're just getting rid of the puppet and they're coming right on in and taking charge themselves. We see it happening in cities across our nation, and we see it happening throughout the world.
So they're competing now with communist China to get at Africa's resources. Is that what's happening? Or is communist China really just America
Well,
in
thank
disguise?
you. That's why I said we don't compete. If we're competing with communist China is what Joe Louis used to fight against. In fact, Joe Louis was such a champion, they used to give him what was called the bum of the month to fight. So China is a false opponent. It's a fake opponent, not real, an illusion.
Because when China has to keep up appearances. When they first got developed, where did the money come from? Came from the West.
From the
So
West.
these are Western corporations with a Chinese
Not
face.
to mention
Is that
Mr.
what you're saying?
Rockefeller's
Is that the
investments.
same reason why they sent them up in Detroit?
Not to mention Mr. Rockefeller's investment in China and every other
Rothschild,
billionaire
all that.
in this country.
Yeah, the big time. Earth. All right, now we go up in there. All this stuff is going on.
Go up
Why
in there.
would the corporate see? There you go. See, would you please help him?
I'm going to pray for
You're
you.
just
Pastor.
urban.
Wait a minute,
You're just
wait a
urban.
minute,
It's
wait a minute,
urban
wait a
phrasing.
minute. Shirley McCain, touch me.
It's urban phrasing.
Anyway, so why would they have a need to take this and be behind it if they are? It's just pure speculation. I've heard it speculated that they were behind it. Are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, it's like I'm a conspiracy theorist, or now they changed us and now we're truth seekers. And so I really believe with the past that the government has, of course, oil rich.
But this could be
rich,
legitimate.
No, mineral rich. Then why 2 years ago they've been collecting young girls over the years? How come this is the first we've heard of this?
They've got people in this community right here in Columbus who believe this is a real cause.
I can't help what somebody else. No, I can't help what somebody else might believe.
Wait a minute, this is a real cause.
Because unless we go over
Somebody
to Nigeria.
help me here.
Unless we go over to Nigeria and see for ourselves, we already know that we can't believe anything that the media tells us here.
And we
And there's
already
always
know.
somebody that's going to bite the bait.
Absolutely.
Right. And we already know whenever the
Are y'all
United
saying
States
that people,
wants...
wait a minute, hold on. You telling me people are being misled?
Yes, I believe they
How?
are.
How? These are smart people.
Are they
These are
doing their
people that's been
research?
over there.
Because you have
Have you done your research?
Yes, I have.
I don't believe they're being misled. I believe these girls have been kidnapped, and it's our responsibility to go get them.
Well,
you
you know,
gonna get 'em
I
then?
don't doubt that the girls have been kidnapped. But the thing about it is, like you said, mass murders have occurred, previous kidnappings have occurred, and they're still occurring. The point is, why do we have this campaign, Bring Back Our Girls? And we already know why. Whenever the United States wants to go in somewhere, they need to create a propaganda campaign to
But wait a
support
minute,
it.
Michelle Obama's behind
She
this.
might not even know
She is a
what's going on.
paragon of virtue.
She may
As
not
well,
even know
she
what's
should
going
be.
on.
All
Except
we're
if you look
doing
at the-
is we're watching a Johnny Wise Miller Tarzan movie all over again.
How?
Because all dark Africa, uncivilized Africa,
Oh, the dark
corrupt,
continent, yeah.
corrupt Africa, and now Tarzan is going to swing in on an airplane
On a drone.
in a drone
Tarzan on a
and
drone.
save the
And
day.
it goes to show again what they've been saying, that we cannot govern ourselves.
So our people here are misled?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Are people here not keeping up on it?
Well,
Are
no,
people-
no,
Is that what you're saying?
No.
I disagree.
There's misinformation.
I disagree.
There's misinformation,
By who?
disinformation,
Who's putting it out
propaganda.
there?
The media,
Who owns
along
the media?
along with the government and those that control the
You
media.
know something? You guys just don't
companies.
believe in the virtue of anything. You think everything has got some slick stuff behind. I almost said something else.
you
Got
know
some
what?
slick
The thing
stuff
about-
behind it.
Americans don't really care about what's going on in Africa. What we need is we need a catchphrase, we need advertising, we need media, promotions in order to give a hoot about anything. And this is the perfect scenario to have people say,
Listen.
yes,
Earth Jallow,
we're in
don't
Africa
you care
now,
about
it's
what's
good.
happening in Africa?
Of course I do. I care about what's happening in all of the world. But my thing is this: when my gas is $4 a gallon, Somebody needs to start talking about why these oil prices are the way they are. When we got all this oil, we have our own reserves and gas, and nobody is talking about this gas being $4 a gallon.
I want to be clear about this. You three believe this is a false flag operation.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you almost said something else. This is a G-rated show.
Okay, I'm going to be like Kanye West at the Grammys.
Oh, God.
Okay, and it's not George Bush, but they don't care about black people. They don't care. They don't care about poor people.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about on the ground. Okay, okay, John, what do we need to do then to evaluate whether something is false flag or legitimate in our community?
Well, what we need to do is we need to listen to news that's outside of this country and get information. I mean, even the BBC has better information than CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC.
The best news is Bounce23 TV
It's Bounce23 News.
All right.
That's right, and I watch your news breaks all the time.
I appreciate that. I know you're right. I got great producers.
Yes, you do.
But anyway, so how do we know that what you guys think is the truth? How do we know? What's the evidence?
Well, it's hard to unearth the evidence.
So you're just speculating.
Well, of course, that's all.
Shame on
We have
you.
to speculate, but with
Shame on you.
information.
Where's your evidence?
Well, the evidence is that the information just doesn't add up.
It doesn't
make
add
any
up.
sense.
How doesn't it?
It's like they're writing this thing as they go along.
What do you mean? Give me an example. Give me a quick example.
The whole storyline about where the girls were in school at, where the girls had to take their testing.
Stay right there. Black children dying next door. No one seems to care. Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari Enaharo. Why is it so easy to get African Americans worked up about what happens 10,000 miles away when black children are abused next door and they do and say nothing about it? Black children are dying next door. No one seems to care. Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, the Reverend John Coates, and Donella Martin-Braddix. You know something, Earth, you have been one of the strongest proponents. Why aren't they caring about what happens to the babies next door? I mean, I'm driving down the street just the other day. I'm seeing a 1-year-old, maybe a half-a-year-old child out in the middle of the street. I stopped. I said, what the? You know, and I'm looking for a policeman or somebody because I am sick of this.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because the parent need to go to jail. I am sick of this. Now, why can we get so riled up about what happens 10,000 miles away, but you can't get them to go next door to check on the neighbor?
Because I really think it's a way for us to disconnect, that if we are looking at things that's far across the sea, we can better deal with it than we can deal with the neighbor next door.
Why? Why is that?
I don't know why that is, but it is like that. We can take up
I don't believe you're correct. I don't believe you're correct.
Where's the hashtag?
I don't believe you're correct.
Where's the
But
hashtag?
do nothing
We've
for
got
the children
plenty
next
of,
door.
no, that's not true. We got plenty of organizations that are addressing this question. Just because you're not active in them don't mean they ain't addressing the question.
Look. Where's the hashtag media-sponsored campaign for Save Our Children in Chicago?
Right.
Okay, where's that campaign
Where's
at?
that
Where's
at?
Angelina Jolie and Michelle Obama?
Right.
Where's the president at? And saving the children in his own city? Where's that campaign?
That's a good question.
And so that goes to show you that what I'm saying, that you would rather mud stomp 10,000 miles across the sea than next door.
Because you're saying it's more romantic?
I think it is. I think it is for people. They don't want to address
Have y'all
certain
said
things.
something here that really makes people wonder? Is it something kind of propaganda campaign that we are getting caught up in and getting manipulated
That's
by?
because we get caught up in propaganda. Now what is everyone talking about? Oh, what happened on the latest episode of Love and Hip Hop? Oh, what happened on Housewives of Atlanta?
What happened on the elevator between Jay-Z and some salons?
Exactly. So the thing about it is we are captivated. We're captivated by that.
Yeah.
But 300 schoolgirls were kidnapped, and you guys are in denial.
I'm
ashamed.
In HD.
Ashamed.
They were kidnapped in HD.
And the
High
military
definition
can't go get
It's
them.
really hard to kidnap almost 300
Yes.
people, and no one knows
If
what's
you got
going on.
1,000 people with armed guards, it's not hard to
Where
kidnap.
is the
Thank you. So then
military?
you've got almost 1,500 people, and you don't know where they went? Come
Where's
on.
the military? I have to ask
well,
that question.
It's in Nigeria, so you don't
They're
have
not
the
doing
best
anything.
technology
The thing
there
about
like
it
you
is
have
they
here.
have
So it's
sonar.
easy to disappear.
You know
They have
that's
sonar,
not
they
true.
have all
What we
of those
know for a
technologies.
fact is that those questions, people were asking those questions.
Yes.
And now recently, the Nigerian security chief has said, We found them.
Yes.
Well, wait,
We know where they're at. We know where they're at. We didn't know before, but we know where they're
my
at
question
now.
was also-
It's because they always knew
where they were.
at.
My question is, they
What's
say...
your evidence, John? Wait a minute. Now, you give me all that
They
old
always
preacher
knew they
stuff.
were.
You always
Thank you.
do.
Well, yeah, I don't speak
where's
in
your
terms like you do on here.
I know you don't.
But they say that the
That's
teachers
Jallow
weren't even around when the children were kidnapped. Where were the teachers?
That's a good question. Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence, Reverend?
Well, where were the teachers?
Well, now, that's what she said.
Where was
What about
where was the military? This is one of Africa's most developed
Right.
military forces.
Should be,
Okay?
yes.
They have no technology. They have no intelligence.
Well,
Come
you know, the
on.
thing about the African
The British Home Office
affairs,
is
So
embedded in
when
Nigeria.
do we
They
do a
have no
bring
information.
back our girls in Columbus that concentrates on the city of Columbus?
And
when do we do
concentrates
that?
on the human trafficking that goes on in our own backyard.
How bad is it here?
It's horrible.
Is it?
Columbus
Ohio-
is one of the hubs. for that.
Ohio is one of the largest areas, especially in the Toledo area, and that's why I support groups like Compassion to Act.
But you
that's
believe in
actively
Pan-Africanism,
pulling
though.
people.
You believe in supporting issues of black folk all around the world, though. Am I right? But you say start at home? Is that
start
what
at
you
home.
say?
Certainly start at
Gotta
home.
start
And then go abroad.
Start
not
with that-
only
start with
at
Africans
home,
next
start
door.
in your own family, start in
at
your own
home,
households.
literally.
Our households are in chaos. How are we
Yep.
going to take
So
the time
what you're saying
to
is
look at the world?
support this, but also begin to address it local.
That's right.
Handle
All
your
right.
business.
Thanks to TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, Reverend John Coates, and Donella Martin-Braddix. And thank you for watching Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV.